Gerard's improving while I turned on the camera a little bit about our new episode. You missed it. Welcome back to the 8-Sided Blog. This is Tennyson E Stead speaking. You've got Gerard Marzilli here on camera. We're coming at you from the set of Declassified, Project Icarus.
There's more of a set this week.
You
may not be able to see it, but there is.
Yep, Gerard can see it. He's looking out his window at Jupiter. Spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
What's been interesting about this week, Gerard? I didn't really come up with a topic for the blog, so I'm going to wing it with you. What has come up this week for you in your labors?
What has come up this week for me in my labors regarding this?
Just in anything. Yeah, sure. Regarding Declassified.
I think this is just I just noticed that this has a little light in the center, just like an eye of Jupiter. Anyway, you can't see this, but I can because I'm privileged. Working on this piece has been both much easier to memorize, but it's much harder to run just because it's highly emotional and so because of that, you can only get like 3 or 4 runs on it at a time, and then you have to stop and let it go for about a couple hours or so, and then come back to it. Something that I always work on these things throughout my day, but it's one of those ones you have to keep coming back to. And one of those ones that you have to kind of like let it go and let the words do the work, I think, once you pick out your specific moments.
Here's another thought which occurs to me now, which is that we are sort of we're deep in the third act of Declassified. And so this is when all the action of the series, all of Pierce's attempts to keep the mission on track and all of his efforts to preserve the health of the vessel and the health of himself start to pay off in whatever dramatic way they're going to pay off. What makes... Because I know Hollywood is big time focused on the payoff and the cake of a production. You know what I'm saying? The fun, the excitement, the feeling, the emotional release that you get from watching cinema. And that's where a lot of this conversation about tone comes from, is Hollywood wanting to reward audiences for watching, which is a fine impulse to have. What makes this third act a payoff to begin with? What makes it emotionally rewarding for an audience to watch this part of a show, in your opinion?
Probably be what I would think is that this is, it's an emotional payoff. They've seen Wick Pierce struggle through a myriad of challenges and, constantly pressure building on him and never letting it get to him, or at least he'll snap a couple of times, but it's different from this. And this is, I guess, finally, you get to see more of Wick as a real person in this, and more vulnerable, and you are able to relate to him, and maybe that gives somebody hope that you can still be a vulnerable person capable of recognizing beauty and grandeur and reacting to it, and that doesn't mean you also can't get jobs done and push on through and do great things.
I think you're right. I think it comes down to maintaining a focus on the action. And at the end of the day, I think one of the most important lessons that stories have to give us is that when you do something, when you stick with it and you do it long enough, the nature of the thing that you're doing begins to change, all on its own, because you've gotten good enough at it that you can do other things. I think stories are a way of reminding us to stay focused. And you can't have that payoff without the work. You can't have the emotional elation of watching somebody get what they worked so hard for unless they've worked so hard for it.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to the innate nature of conflict and the innate nature of a scene, which is when one person wants one thing and another person wants another, and you're not both going to get your way. Wick wants to get to Titan. It's now the only thing that can give his life meaning, because he's literally isolated from everything else. So he has an extremely powerful motivation to get to Titan, because otherwise his entire life is a waste. He's got to make something of himself. It's the only thing he can do left with his life. And it's meaningful to him to begin with because he was a test pilot, right? And because he's passionate about being the fastest and being the first. And this is how he's going to make his mark on history. So he was already motivated, but now there's no other choice for him. He's literally hurtling through space and he can't turn around. He doesn't have the fuel to go back to Earth. So, within that context, space and nature are trying to stop Wick from going to Titan because going to Titan is stupid. No one should ever do it. Especially not an Apollo space capsule.
You should go to Titan in a
warp ship.
You should go in a Raider. Not a Raider, a Viper, a Colonial Viper.
Yeah.
Or a Cylon Raider. Both are capable of getting there.
Yeah. Something quick and simple.
The Enterprise might go so fast it'll just go right past it.
Yeah.
You have to. It's tough to get there on the Enterprise, but you can do it.
The computer will just take you there by itself.
Yeah.
You can just say, computer, take me
You
to
can have
Titan.
drinks at 10 forward and
Right.
chill out while you're going there. You can have probably fairly decent food from the simulator.
Yeah.
Not
Grey.
so. I get peanut butter paste.
Yeah.
That's what I get.
Yeah.
For 8 damn years.
Yeah, exactly.
And at this point in the show, we're only 6 years through this journey. Okay, so next time you see him after this episode, you're going to see Wick another 2 years in when finally, well, I either do or don't get to Saturn.
And the scene is over. The show is over. The conflict is over. The moment either space stops you from going to Titan or you go to Titan. One of those two things happens.
Or I run into the Draconian Space Armada.
Yeah.
Which is going to be awesome. Wait till you see that. We're experimenting with a lot of CGI in here.
Yeah. But that's what makes it a show, is that conflict. And ultimately the conflict changes when Wick starts to understand the advantage that he has over nature in this situation, when he really starts to embrace the things that are going to help him survive the most. And those things change him profoundly. And that is the emotional reward, of seeing the endeavors that we engage in shape us, I think. And start to reward us in some way for all the work that we put into them. Even if those rewards are negative, we can see that things aren't just for nothing. You know what I mean? Something is going on, something is happening, and the world is changing. And we're changing. And I think, screenwriters need to remember that you don't get to have the emotional payoff without the conflict. You have to have the action. It all has to be coming from the action, and then you don't go past the action. You don't talk past the end of the scene. You just let the scene change.
And conflict doesn't necessarily mean big toy set battles that are poorly staged and executed. That's not a conflict.
No, that's just stuff happening. If there's nobody there fighting the war, if it's just a war that you get to see, if you're watching what happened instead of what people did, then absolutely it's not a show. It's not a production. It's just it's an exhibition of effects. That's all I got. You got anything?
Yeah.
Smarty pants?
Nope.
Okay.
Not so smart.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for watching our 8-sided blog. First of all, what you're seeing here is Declassified Project Icarus. Declassified is a web series. You wanna describe it, Gerard?
Declassified is a web series, which each season is a series of declassified files, files from the BADD, which is the Bureau of Applied Defense Development. I'm like, Dynamics? It's gotta be no Dynamics. Bureau of Applied Defense Development, and that does shady things during the Cold War. This first season is Project Icarus, and Project Icarus is a silly project where they decide to shoot a man to Saturn's moon of Titan on an 8-year one-way journey, not coming back, using Apollo technology and a nuclear engine, basically. So that's just one of the bad
Ideas.
BADD bad ideas that the Bureau of Applied Defense Development, not Dynamics. I want Dynamics. Has in mind.
Yeah. So you can find this show and other shows that we've worked on the 8-Sided Films YouTube page at youtube.com/8 the number sided films. Please give us a subscribe. Show them the subscribe button, Gerard. It's over there. And a thumbs up if you like the video. And we hope to see you soon. Follow us on Twitter at 8-Sided Films, and you can follow our upcoming feature film at Quantum Movie. Gerard here is on Twitter at G Marzilli, and I'm Tennyson E Stead. You can find me at Tennyson TennySonEstead, all on Twitter.
So come see us.
Come see us. Let us know you're out there. Have yourselves a great afternoon, and thanks again. Take care.